Hello again and welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Scouting Report where we look ahead to the next game. This time it's a trip down south to Crawley. We have Rueban from the Simply Redz. How are you doing, Rueban?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Looking forward to Saturday. It's been a bit of a rocky start so far for Crawley, but hopefully we can have a positive result on Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, I hope not. But as we start recording, before recording, it's a Steve Evans derby. I assume Steve Evans is quite well thought of down you guys. Bearing in mind he got you back into the Football League. I imagine he's still a popular guy.
Yeah, I think on the whole, I think people like the kind of the banter side of football. So I'm sure he'll be getting a bit of stick from the stands on Saturday. But I think it's in a positive way rather than a negative way. He did so well for us. Of course, first leaving us, then go to you guys. I think but in like April of the year we were about to get promoted to League One, I think off the top of my head. So yeah, it was a shame to see him go. I mean, he's still a very Marmite character, as we saw with you guys, we saw at Stevenage as he was with us. But I mean, he did so well for us, got us promoted, and we've never really looked back since he was manager.
Absolutely. Let's just take us back to last season because Crawley have been in the headlines in the last few years for off-field stuff. Yeah. And there was a concern from everybody outside Crawley thinking, where's this kind of story going? Is it, back down to the conference? But last year was, talked about last season and ended in a win at Wembley.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth even going back to the season before, just how close we were from relegation. We literally had to beat Hartlepool at their place for us to stay up. And had we have lost that, we'd be in the National League. And once you go down to National League, there's no real getting back up unless you've decided to have loads of money spent at you. But even then, we saw with Wrexham, and then we saw with Notts County. And you've got two teams battling for very limited automatic spots. It's a very difficult league to get out of. And then in the off season, then we signed a lot of players who nobody had heard of. We were signing players from like Cray Valley Paper Mills and Oxford City. It's not even Oxford United. Where else do people come from? Somebody come from Banbury United. So hardly teams that were up in the upper echelons of English football. And we had a manager, Scott Lindsay, who somehow worked a miracle on them. I mean, I wish I was a bit of a betting man because as I put a bet on for Crawley to get promoted, I think I could have retired from my day job. But yeah, I mean, we got into the playoffs last game of the season, beat Grimsby, and then got to the playoffs. The first playoff got postponed due to the wet weather, so it got pushed back the next day, and we somehow beat MK Dons. I think it's like 8-1 over the two legs, which is like history when it comes to aggregate score in a playoff. Then we go to Wembley, bring like 16,000 Crawley fans and go on to beat Crewe. And the rest is kind of history. I mean, what a season it was last season. But yeah, League One's always going to be tough. Some big teams, some teams spending way above anything that we could possibly dream of. Birmingham spending more money than what Crawley is probably worth as a whole. It's going to be a tough season for us. We know that, but hopefully we're there to enjoy it, and hopefully we do kind of stay up because then that will really help us kind of going forwards.
Absolutely. What was the pre-season prediction? We'll talk about the change manager in a minute, but was it coming up for the playoffs is always tough because you get a short summer window and everything else. It can be really, really tough. But was there a positive vibe that you could stay up?
I mean, so last season we were favourites to be relegated from League Two. And so, of course, you're going to go into League One and be favourites to be relegated. And that's, I think, pretty much, even Crawley fans, whilst they want to be hopeful, that is where we're probably expected to be come the end of the season. Of course, we want to be able to stay in this league. Out of the starting 11 that started the game against Wembley, only 3 of those players remain. Everyone else has disappeared to other clubs. So we've almost had to start from scratch again again, kind of using the way of signing players from the lower leagues and people who aren't necessarily wanted or weren't really playing at as good as they probably should be, and kind of using our manager to work wonders and to be able to develop them and hopefully then sell them on for a bigger fee. And just that's always going to be our kind of our transfer strategy. It's just buy cheap, improve them, sell on for more money.
And let's move on to the change of manager. We went there 2 years ago. We went to the Championship, Paul won, left, and then went back down to the league below. Talk to me about that, because I imagine it's frustrating, but again, it's quite a good opportunity because there's MK Dons have got quite a lot of money, but you've just beaten them. Those 2 playoff games. It's just one of those weird stories, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we always knew Scott Lindsay was going to leave Crawley. It was only a matter of as to who and when. I think when the MK job came up, because a lot of people knew that MK played a similar style of football to Crawley. In the summer, MK stole a number of our players, top players from last season. And so when I think it's Williamson left MK, and Scott was only ever going to go one way. I mean, it is frustrating as a fan, going to probably a team that we've really kind of found a strong rivalry with over these past few months because of the playoffs and everything surrounding that. So it does hurt. Of course, you want Scott to do the best he can because he's a great bloke. But he, of course, just don't want MK to do that well. And so, we were disappointed. But kind of thankfully, the ownership knew quite quickly who it was they wanted to come in. Rob Elliott, so the former Newcastle goalkeeper. And he plays a very, very similar style of football. He used to be at Gateshead, so where the former MK manager was. So it's all a bit of a kind of love triangle somewhere. And so Rob Elliott was brought into Gateshead to do a similar job do a similar style of football to Mike, which Scott played, and just stabilise. And again, that's what he's trying to do at Crawley. Come in, play a similar style of football and stabilise us and keep us in the league on a very limited budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did a really good job at Gateshead as well. He would have been in the playoffs had it not been for some rules. Just talking about the season, you sit just inside the relegation zone at the minute. Obviously, the manager zone just took over just over a month ago. So, are you still positive? You're still, well within touching distance of us almost, and we look where we thought we'd be. So it feels like the season from outside feels like it's been an okay start for you.
I mean, it's frustrating because we can tell that we can be good. All we just need is for it to click. As soon as it clicks, we'll be so much higher than we actually are. But there's just something. It's like for a bit we struggled to score goals. Then we started to score goals. Then we struggled to defend. And so then when we've now had clean sheets the past 2 games, but we haven't scored any. And it's like it's like a proper football manager dilemma that you've got in front of you. I mean, we've got some good players. We've been struck quite heavily on injuries, which doesn't ever help the situation. And we are a good team. We were unlucky not to come away with anything at Bristol Rovers. Because whilst they dominated in the first half, in the second half we were all over them and really should have scored 1, if not 2 goals. We're not very good. Probably shouldn't be telling you guys this. We're not very good at defending corners.
Okay.
So I think a couple of games ago we conceded 25 games since the beginning of the season. I think out of those, 12 of them had come from corners.
Right.
Which is quite an incredible stat.
It is, yeah.
And I just don't like looking when we've got a corner, we've got to defend. But thankfully, I think we are slowly but surely shoring up that defence for corners. I think we just bring back every single player and don't leave anyone up.
Before we move on to some individual players, I just want to go back about a bit of kind of the ownership, because I'm sure everybody knows the mad show it was a few years ago. Everything seems calm and cool, and they've gone in the background. Is everything kind of settled behind the scenes? Is it?
I think when you're doing well on the football pitch, that does all the talking. But then when it doesn't go so well, then people look to the backroom staff and the ownership. So I think now we have kind of stabilised a little bit. I think the ownership have learned a number of lessons since they first came in. One of them is realising how important is League Two football, League Two at the time, League One football is to Crawley fans. I think, they when they first came in, one of the owners described it like owning your high school football team.
Right.
And bearing in mind, over in the States, high school football is still quite
big
level.
Yeah.
But I don't think over there you really have like that community. You don't really have that people literally spending their weekends every single weekend traveling up and down the country. So I think now they've realized the importance of that and the football club to us. And they are wanting to kind of make changes for the better, like working on marketing, because they know that's one of our restrictions and how well our players can be paid is based on our revenue. And so, of course, they're looking at improving their revenue. But no, on the whole, things are looking up. I think we could definitely be in a lot worse position. I mean, we've never got to the stage where players weren't being paid or they're looking to sell the ground to build houses. Like you hear, like we're not a Reading, we're not a Swindon. It was just a bit of naivety with owning a football club and not really getting that kind of footballing experience, English football experience in.
Yeah, well, the intentions sound like they're there, which is half of the battle with the foreign owners. The intentions are good, then other the lessons, which sounds like they are. Just talking through some players who, if Crawley are going to have a good afternoon Saturday, who were the ones that are going to hurt Rotherham?
Yeah, so I think, it's difficult when we've got a number of injuries because actually a lot of our best players are injured at the moment.
Great.
I think one player is worth giving a shout out to is Jeremy Kelly. And so Jeremy Kelly is one of what we describe as a WAGMI, so our ownership group signing. We announced him and he was this random American from the States playing out in like their championship or somewhere like that. And we signed him. And like a lot of people thought, we just like won a competition or he was like best friends with one of the ownership group. And actually, since he came in January last season, I think it was, he's been incredible and could probably quite easily go to another club. But no doubt he'll probably end up at MK Dons with our old manager. So he's been really good. Either plays out wide or in the centre of the park. Also got Ronan Darcy as well. So he used to be ex-Swindon. So he came along with our old manager, Scott Lindsay, to the club. So he'll probably go to MK as well in January. He's been really good for us. And I think one player it's worth mentioning is, again, another kind of really unusual signing we made. And we haven't really probably seen the best of him or him playing much, is a guy called Benjamin Tanemu. So he probably won't start. He'll probably be on the bench. Might come on when we're like 4-0 up or something. But he signed from the Tanzanian Premier League.
Okay, that is left field.
We were on Twitter one day, or X, Twitter, and we saw this club announcing that this player had joined Crawley, and we're like, okay, who is he? And like they were talking about like him being worth like it's like a stupid amount of money.
Okay.
And we're like, has this happened? Has this not happened? Transfer window shut. So we're like, okay, it obviously hasn't happened. Obviously, something's gone wrong there, or someone's making it up. Anyways, next day it gets announced. This guy doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. However, he has made, I think, 3 or 4 appearances for Nigeria.
Okay.
So he's obviously got something about him. He played in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy against Wickham. And he did concede 2 foul throws.
Brilliant.
But we shall see. He's either going to be the next big thing or he's going to be a huge flop. People haven't quite decided yet. So you might find out on Saturday.
So if he comes on Saturday, everybody keep an eye out for him.
Yeah,
it could be brilliant. One way or another, it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, basically.
Let's finish. How the game's going to go? So how do you think the game's going to go, and what is your score prediction as well?
Score prediction. I think we need to score. It's been a couple of games since you haven't scored yet recently. So we're going to score. I'm going to go 2-1 Crawley.
Okay.
I think. Who do I think is going to score? I think a guy called John Jules is going to score for us. I think his surname is Tyrese John Jules. He was like a hot prospect for I think like Arsenal or someone. He's been unlucky with injuries. And I think Ronan Darcy will score the second for us.
Fair enough. That could be interesting if that happens.
Yeah,
it might cost Steve Evans his job if that happens.
Yeah. Do you think Steve Evans is close to?
Yeah, well, pretty close. On the last game against Barnsley, there was "You're not fit to wear the shirt" and Evans time to go kind of thing. So he is. I don't say he's on borrowed time, but he's borrowing off his friendship with the chairman. That's what he's on. If it was another manager that wasn't friends with the chairman, I'm not convinced Evans would be here anymore.
Well, we can join in with those chants.
Yeah, exactly. So Saturday's a big game for Steve Evans and his job. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, everyone. Make sure everybody who is watching, make sure you subscribe and like the video. We will also put the links to Simply Redz in the show notes as well. So make sure you check those guys out as well.